The Chelsea and Atletico dimensions. Gallagher's history with Chelsea adds psychological and narrative complexity to any potential move to Manchester United. Having come through Chelsea's academy and represented them in the Premier League, joining one of their traditional rivals creates natural storylines. For Gallagher personally, there might be some desire to prove something to his former club, to demonstrate that they were wrong to let him leave. This motivation could work in United's favor if properly channeled. His current situation at Atletico Madrid also factors into the equation. If Gallagher is thriving in Spain and fully integrated into Diego Simeone's system, convincing him to return to England might prove difficult regardless of United's interest. Conversely, if he's found the transition to Spanish football challenging or misses the Premier League's environment, he might be receptive to a return. Understanding his mindset and satisfaction level at Atletico is crucial intelligence for United's recruitment team. The deal's feasibility also depends on Atletico's willingness to sell. Spanish clubs often operate under different financial pressures than their English counterparts, and Atletico in particular has sometimes needed to generate funds through player sales. If they're facing financial pressures or have identified a replacement, €30 million might prove acceptable. But if they view Gallagher as integral to their plans, no amount of United interest will matter. Alternative scenarios and opportunity cost. Pursuing Gallagher for €30 million also involves opportunity cost considerations. Could that money be better spent elsewhere? Are there younger players with higher potential ceilings available for similar fees? Might waiting until summer provide better value or more options? These questions don't have definitively correct answers, but they must be honestly confronted before committing resources. The January timing creates its own dynamics. If United believes Gallagher could meaningfully improve their chances of Champions League qualification, and that qualification would generate far more than €30 million in revenue and prestige, then the investment becomes easier to justify even if the summer might offer better alternatives. The calculation involves probabilities, projected outcomes, and risk assessment rather than simple player evaluation. There's also the question of what happens if United doesn't get Gallagher. Have they identified adequate alternative targets? Or does missing out on him leave them scrambling for inferior options in the window's final days? Strong recruitment processes always include contingency planning, and United's pursuit of Gallagher should exist within a broader framework of identified targets across different price points and profiles. The broader pattern, United's midfield strategy. Gallagher's potential arrival must be understood as part of Manchester United's broader midfield strategy rather than an isolated transaction. If United is simultaneously or alternatively pursuing Elliot Anderson, James Garner, or the four-time Premier League winner discussed earlier, it suggests they've identified central midfield as the priority area for investment. This makes tactical sense given Amorim's system and United's current squad composition. The pattern suggests United is targeting a specific profile: energetic, tactically intelligent, Premier League experienced midfielders in their early to mid-20s who can contribute immediately while also developing further. This is smart recruitment thinking, focusing on players who fit a consistent profile rather than pursuing disparate targets without clear strategic coherence. If Gallagher is indeed the primary target within this framework, his €30 million price tag represents the benchmark against which alternatives can be measured. However, United must guard against tunnel vision. If Gallagher becomes unavailable or proves too expensive relative to his value, the recruitment team must be prepared to pivot toward alternatives with equal conviction rather than settling for clearly inferior options simply to make some signing. The history of transfer windows includes too many examples of clubs making poor decisions in the final days because they felt they needed to sign anyone, rather than accepting that sometimes no deal is better than a bad deal. Financial fair play and squad management implications. The regulatory context. Any January transfer activity by Manchester United must occur within the constraints of financial fair play regulations and the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. These frameworks limit how much clubs can spend relative to their revenues and create consequences for breaches ranging from points deductions to transfer bans. For a club of United's size and revenue, these constraints are less restrictive than for smaller clubs, but they still impose discipline on spending decisions. The €30 million potential outlay for Gallagher, any fee for the four-time Premier League winner, and costs associated with other potential targets must all be balanced against United's current financial position. The club's substantial revenues provide significant spending power, but they've also made expensive acquisitions in recent windows that factor into these calculations. Any January spending must be sustainable within the broader financial picture, ensuring that it doesn't constrain summer options or create future compliance issues. For Amorim, this situation represents an early test of his man management capabilities. His reputation from Sporting Lisbon included strong relationships with players and an ability to maximize squad commitment to his tactical approach. However, Portugal and the Premier League present different challenges, different player personalities, and different media environments. How he navigates this dilemma will send signals not just about his approach to squad management, but about the culture he's trying to build at Manchester United. The transfer solution, identifying the missing pieces. Amorim's tactical requirements. The reports that Ruben Amorim has been handed a transfer solution suggest that his coaching staff, in conjunction with United's recruitment department, believes they've identified specific players or profiles that would address tactical deficiencies in the current squad. This represents a significant shift from recent United transfer strategies, which often appeared reactive or opportunistic rather than systematically aligned with a clear tactical vision. Amorim's preferred system, refined during his successful tenure at Sporting, makes specific demands of his players. His defensive structure typically features three center-backs, requiring defenders comfortable in possession and capable of stepping forward in the midfield when the opportunity presents. His wing-backs must possess exceptional stamina, tactical discipline to know when to advance and when to tuck in, and technical quality to deliver in the final third. His midfielders need to be positionally intelligent, capable of playing in tight spaces, and willing to cover significant ground both defensively and offensively. When we consider that Amorim has been handed a solution, it likely means that scouts and analysts have identified players currently available who possess these specific attributes. This could manifest in several ways. Perhaps United has identified a center-back playing elsewhere who demonstrates the ball-playing qualities Amorim prizes. Maybe they found a wing-back whose profile perfectly matches the demanding hybrid role the system requires. Or possibly they've targeted a midfielder whose tactical intelligence and technical security would provide the control Amorim seeks in central areas. The integration challenge. Identifying the right player represents only the first step. Successfully integrating new signings into a team mid-season, particularly when that team is still adapting to a new tactical system, presents significant challenges. Unlike summer arrivals who benefit from preseason preparation, January signings must often learn complex tactical instructions while simultaneously adjusting to new teammates, a new league environment, and the pressure of immediate performance expectations. For Amorim, the solution must therefore be someone who can minimize this integration period. This might mean targeting players with Premier League experience who understand the league's physical and tactical demands. It could involve pursuing players who have previously worked in similar tactical systems, reducing the learning curve regarding positional responsibilities and movement patterns. Or it might mean prioritizing younger players whose adaptability and eagerness to learn compensate for any initial unfamiliarity with Amorim's specific requirements. The coaching staff's confidence that they've identified a solution suggests they've thought carefully about these integration factors. The worst January signings are typically those made in panic, pursuing any available player who vaguely fits a positional need without considering whether they can actually contribute immediately or fit the team style. If United's approach represents genuine analysis of how specific players would function within Amorim's system, it marks a welcome departure from some previous transfer strategies, balancing immediate impact with long-term value. Any transfer solution must also balance competing time frames. Manchester United needs immediate reinforcement to secure Champions League qualification and potentially challenge for domestic cups. However, the club must also think beyond this season, ensuring that January signings represent long-term assets rather than expensive short-term fixes that become problems themselves within a year or two. The ideal solution would be a player entering their prime years, someone with 5 to 7 years of peak performance ahead who could immediately improve the team while also retaining or appreciating in value. This profile is difficult to secure in January when clubs are reluctant to sell such players mid-season. Yet if United has genuinely identified such an opportunity, it would represent astute business that addresses both present needs and future planning. Alternatively, the solution might involve a younger player whose current level can contribute immediately while their potential suggests significant future improvement. This approach carries more risk, as development is never guaranteed, but it aligns with a sustainable recruitment model focused on identifying value before it becomes universally recognized and priced accordingly. Premier League proven. The four-time champion and England international. Decoding the target profile. The headline referencing a four-time Premier League winner with 82 England caps immediately narrows the potential candidate pool dramatically. Such credentials indicate a player of exceptional pedigree, someone who has experienced the highest levels of English and international football, accumulated silverware, and earned the consistent trust of England managers. For both Manchester United and Tottenham, to be linked with this player suggests someone either available on a free transfer in the final 6 months of their contract or in a situation where their current club might consider selling. This profile points toward a player likely in their late 20s or early 30s, someone whose experience represents both their greatest asset and potentially a concern regarding how many elite years remain. The 4 Premier League titles suggest time at one of England's traditional powerhouses, most likely Manchester City, Manchester United, or Chelsea during their respective periods of dominance. The 82 England caps indicate sustained international recognition over many years, though it's worth noting that this player may no longer be a regular England starter, which could factor into their availability. The appeal for Manchester United. For Manchester United, pursuing such an established figure makes considerable sense within their current context. Amorim inherited a squad that sometimes lacks maturity, tactical sophistication, and winner's mentality. Adding someone who has repeatedly experienced title races, crucial matches, and the pressure situations that accompany them could provide invaluable leadership and mentorship alongside their on-field contributions. These considerations also affect squad planning beyond just incoming transfers. If United signs multiple players in January, do they need to sell others to maintain squad size limits and wage bill sustainability? The maximum squad size regulations mean that additions often require subtractions, creating a complex optimization problem where the club must balance current squad depth needs against regulatory requirements. The wage structure impact. Transfer fees represent only one component of a player's cost. Wages, agent fees, signing bonuses, and performance-related add-ons can significantly exceed the headline transfer fee over a contract's lifetime. When United considers spending €30 million on Gallagher, they must simultaneously evaluate what wage package he would command and how that fits within their existing structure. Wage structure management is crucial for squad harmony and financial sustainability. If Gallagher arrives on wages significantly higher than players of comparable status within the current squad, it creates resentment and provides ammunition for existing players seeking improved contracts. Conversely, if United lowballs the offer to maintain wage structure, they risk losing out to competitors willing to pay more. Finding the right balance requires sophisticated negotiation and clear principles about what different performance levels justify in compensation terms. The challenge is particularly acute for January transfers because the compressed time frame limits negotiating leverage. Selling clubs and player representatives know that desperation increases as the deadline approaches, creating incentives to delay negotiations in hopes of extracting better terms. United must maintain discipline, establishing walkaway points beyond which the deal no longer makes financial sense regardless of the football benefits. Squad building philosophy. Beyond specific transfers, these decisions reflect and shape Manchester United's broader squad building philosophy. Are they prioritizing young, developing players with high potential who might take time to reach their peak? Or are they focusing on established performers who can contribute immediately but might have limited resale value? The answer likely involves some combination, but the specific balance matters. Pursuing players like Gallagher at 30 million euros, or the four-time Premier League winner, suggests a focus on proven quality and immediate contribution rather than long-term projects. This makes sense given Amorim's need to show results relatively quickly and United's ambitions for Champions League qualification. However, it must be balanced with continued investment in younger talents who represent the future, ensuring that the squad doesn't age collectively and require wholesale replacement in a few years. The January window also offers opportunities to correct previous mistakes. If United has players who clearly don't fit Amorim's system or whose value is declining, moving them on in January, even at a loss, might prove strategically sound if it creates space for better fits. The sunk cost fallacy, where clubs hold on to failing investments simply because they cost so much initially, has damaged too many squads. Amorim and United's leadership must be willing to acknowledge mistakes and move on decisively when appropriate, navigating complexity toward clarity. As we synthesize the multiple strands of Manchester United's January transfer situation, several key themes emerge that will determine whether this window represents progress or another frustrating chapter in the club's recent history. The challenges are substantial: managing player discontent, identifying solutions that genuinely fit Amorim's tactical vision, competing with rivals for proven talent, and making significant financial commitments under uncertainty. Yet within this complexity lies genuine opportunity for a club that has too often stumbled in transfer markets to finally demonstrate strategic coherence and sound judgment. Ruben Amorim's role in all of this cannot be overstated. January will provide the first real test of his influence over recruitment decisions, his ability to integrate new players into his tactical framework, and his judgment regarding which profiles truly suit his system. The fact that his coaching staff believes they've identified specific solutions suggests a proactive approach, a willingness to clearly articulate needs rather than vaguely calling for better players. This specificity, if backed by the recruitment department and club leadership, could mark a genuine shift in how Manchester United approaches transfer windows. The Conor Gallagher situation serves as a microcosm for the broader challenges United faces. At 30 million euros, he represents neither a bargain nor an extravagant gamble, but rather a calculated investment that could prove inspired or disappointing depending on integration, tactics, and circumstances beyond simple player quality. This middle ground, where significant resources are committed without absolute certainty of success, is where most transfer business occurs and where clubs differentiate themselves through superior judgment and planning. The competition with Tottenham for the experienced Premier League winner adds another dimension, forcing United to move decisively while avoiding the trap of competing for players simply because rivals want them. The recruitment team must maintain clear priorities, pursue targets according to genuine strategic need rather than reactive thinking, and be willing to walk away when valuations become irrational. This discipline has sometimes eluded Manchester United in recent years, leading to overpayments and awkward squad compositions. Perhaps most significantly, the various dilemmas and opportunities facing Amorim this January will reveal much about Manchester United's broader direction. Is this a club with clear vision executing a coherent plan, or one still operating reactively and making it up as they go? Are they building toward a sustainable future or desperately trying to fix immediate problems without considering long-term implications? The answers will emerge not just through which players arrive and depart, but through how those decisions are made, communicated, and integrated into the larger project. For Manchester United supporters who have endured a decade of disappointment since Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement, this January window carries particular weight. It represents another test of whether the club has finally learned from past mistakes, whether new leadership can impose order on previously chaotic processes, and whether Ruben Amorim is the manager who can finally restore United to football summit. No single transfer window will answer these questions definitively, but the decisions made in January will provide important evidence about the club's trajectory. As the window approaches and then unfolds, Manchester United must balance multiple competing priorities: immediate results against long-term building, proven quality against developing potential, financial discipline against competitive ambition. Threading this needle is never easy, particularly under the intense scrutiny that accompanies one of football's most famous institutions. Yet it's precisely this challenge that defines successful football administration, separating clubs that consistently compete for honors from those that occasionally flirt with success before falling back. The headlines we've explored, the transfer dilemmas, the identified solutions, the competition for established stars, and the specific pursuit of Conor Gallagher, all represent pieces of a larger puzzle that Manchester United is attempting to solve. Whether they successfully assemble that puzzle remains to be seen. What we can say is that January 2025 will provide crucial insight into whether this club, under new management and with renewed ambition, has finally developed the strategic sophistication and sound judgment that sustainable success requires. The theater of dreams awaits to see whether this January brings them closer to that success or represents another frustrating chapter in their ongoing attempts to recapture past glories.
Manchester United News Roundup. Transfer moves, tactical decisions, and Premier League action. The theater of dreams continues to be a stage of drama, ambition, and relentless pursuit of excellence as Manchester United navigates one of the most crucial periods of their season. Under the stewardship of Ruben Amorim, the RedDevils find themselves at a crossroads where every decision, every match, and every tactical adjustment could define their trajectory for years to come. From bold statements about emerging talents to strategic maneuvers in the transfer market, United's current landscape presents a fascinating study of a club determined to reclaim its position among football's elite. Welcome to this comprehensive analysis. Football supporters around the world understand that Manchester United is never just a football club. It represents tradition, ambition, and the eternal quest for silverware that has defined English football for generations. As we delve into the latest developments surrounding the club, we invite you on a journey to the corridors of Old Trafford, where youth meets experience, where tactical innovation confronts Premier League reality, and where January transfer speculation reaches fever pitch. This comprehensive roundup examines 4 critical storylines that are shaping Manchester United's immediate future. We'll explore Ruben Amorim's faith in young midfielder Kobbie Mainoo, dissect the surprising loan recall of Toby Collier, analyze the potential return of former Academy graduate James Garner alongside interest in Elliot Anderson, and preview tonight's crucial clash against Newcastle United. Each story offers a window into the club's philosophy, ambitions, and the challenges that lie ahead during this make-or-break period. Ruben Amorim's vision for Kobbie Mainoo, a vote of confidence in youth. The manager's declaration. Ruben Amorim has never been one to mince words, and his recent comments about Kobbie Mainoo demonstrate the Portuguese tactician's unwavering belief in young midfielders' potential. In a press conference that captured headlines across the football world, Amorim made it abundantly clear that Mainoo represents a cornerstone of Manchester United's future, dismissing any speculation about the 19-year-old's long-term prospects at the club. The manager's statement comes at a pivotal moment for both Mainoo and Manchester United. After a breakthrough season that saw the Stockport-born midfielder emerge as one of the Premier League's most exciting young talents, questions have inevitably arisen about consistency, development trajectory, and whether United can provide the platform for his continued growth. Amorim's public backing serves multiple purposes. It shields a young player from undue pressure, signals to potential suitors that Mainoo is not available at any price, and reinforces the manager's commitment to building a squad around homegrown talent. The make-or-break context. The timing of Amorim's declaration is particularly significant given Manchester United's position in the league table and the upcoming fixtures that could define their season. The RedDevils face what many pundits are calling a make-or-break run of matches, where drop points could severely compromise their hopes of Champions League qualification. In this high-pressure environment, Amorim's decision to publicly champion Mainoo suggests the manager sees a teenager as part of the solution rather than a player who needs protecting from such intensity. ManUtd's technical abilities have never been in question. His composure on the ball, vision, and ability to progress play through the thirds mark him as a midfielder of genuine quality. However, the physical and mental demands of consecutive high-stakes Premier League matches represent a different challenge entirely. Amorim's faith in ManUtd during this critical period indicates that he believes the youngster possesses not just the technical skills, but also the psychological resilience required to perform when the pressure is at its peak. Tactical integration and development. From a tactical perspective, Amorim's system demands intelligence, positional awareness, and technical security from his midfielders. His preferred approach, which often features a three-man defense and dynamic wingbacks, requires central midfielders who can both shield the defense and facilitate attacks. ManUtd's ability to receive the ball under pressure, turn, and distribute quickly makes him ideally suited to this role. The manager's comment suggests that he views ManUtd not as a prospect for the future, but as a current solution to United's midfield challenges. The developmental aspect of Amorim's approach cannot be understated. Rather than loaning ManUtd out or gradually introducing him through substitute appearances, the manager appears committed to accelerating his growth through consistent first-team football in meaningful matches. This sink-or-swim philosophy has risks, but history shows that many of Manchester United's greatest midfielders, from Paul Scholes to Ryan Giggs, benefited from being thrown into the deep end at a young age. Toby Collier's surprise loan recall, strategic planning, or injury crisis response. The unexpected decision. Manchester United's decision to recall Toby Collier from his loan spell has raised eyebrows throughout the football community. Loan recalls mid-season are relatively rare and typically signal either exceptional circumstances at the parent club or a recognition that the loan arrangement is not serving its intended purpose. In Collier's case, the recall appears to be driven by United's needs rather than any failure on the player's part, suggesting that Amorim and his coaching staff have identified a specific role for the 21-year-old midfielder in their plans. Collier had been gaining valuable experience and regular minutes at his loan club, developing the physical and tactical aspects of his game away from the intense scrutiny that comes with being a Manchester United player. The decision to cut short this developmental period indicates that the club believes he can make a meaningful contribution to the first team immediately, or at minimum, that his presence provides necessary depth during a congested fixture schedule. Analyzing the tactical rationale. The recall of Collier must be understood within the context of Manchester United's squad composition and recent injury concerns. If the club has identified vulnerabilities in their midfield depth, particularly in defensive midfield positions, Collier's return makes strategic sense. His physical profile and defensive instincts could provide Amorim with tactical flexibility, particularly in matches where a more conservative midfield approach is required. Furthermore, Amorim's system often demands versatility from his players. If Collier has demonstrated the ability to play multiple midfield roles or even drop into defense when required, his utility value to the squad increases significantly. The manager may view Collier as a chess piece who, while perhaps not yet ready for every starting assignment, provides options that weren't available before his recall. The broader implications for United's loan philosophy. This recall also prompts questions about Manchester United's broader approach to player development through loans. The club has historically struggled to successfully integrate loan returnees into the first team, with many promising youngsters eventually moving on permanently after their loan spells. If Collier's recall represents a genuine pathway to first-team involvement, rather than simply squad padding, it could signal a more thoughtful approach to managing young players' careers. The decision also sends a message to other United youngsters currently out on loan. Perform well, and there is a route back to Old Trafford. This could have motivational effects across the club's extensive loan network, encouraging players to view their temporary moves as genuine stepping stones rather than indefinite exile from the first team. James Garner and Elliot Anderson. Midfield reinforcement strategy. The Garner reunion narrative. Few stories capture the imagination of football supporters quite like the return of a former academy graduate. James Garner's potential comeback to Manchester United represents exactly this kind of narrative, complete with the emotional resonance that comes with a local product returning home. Garner, who progressed through United's youth system before moving to Everton, has continued his development in the Premier League, demonstrating the qualities that made him highly rated during his time at Carrington. The reported cut-price nature of the potential January move adds another layer of intrigue. In an era where Premier League clubs regularly spend tens of millions on midfield reinforcements, the possibility of reacquiring a player who already understands a club's culture and expectations at a reasonable fee represents savvy business. Garner's technical ability, particularly his passing range and set-piece delivery, would add genuine quality to United's midfield options. However, the Garner story also raises questions about the club's recruitment strategy. If he possessed the quality Manchester United now seeks, why was he allowed to leave permanently in the first place? The answer likely lies in the different managerial regimes and tactical philosophies that have cycled through Old Trafford in recent years. What one manager deemed surplus to requirements, another might view as essential. Amorim's system may simply be better suited to Garner's strengths than previous tactical setups. Elliot Anderson, the primary target. While Garner represents a sentimental option, reports suggest that Elliot Anderson has been identified as Manchester United's #1 choice to lead their new-look midfield. The Newcastle midfielder has impressed with his energy, technical ability, and tactical intelligence since breaking into the Magpies' first team. His profile suggests a player entering his prime years with the physical tools to dominate Premier League midfields and the technical quality to implement Amorim's possession-based approach. Anderson's potential arrival would represent a significant statement of intent from Manchester United. Pursuing a player who is established at a rival club demonstrates ambition and suggests that the club is willing to invest significantly to address their midfield deficiencies. The midfielder's box-to-box capabilities, defensive work rate, and ability to contribute in attacking phases make him an attractive proposition for any top 6 club. And securing his signature would represent a coup for United. The tactical fit appears natural. Amorim's system thrives when midfielders can transition quickly between defensive and offensive phases, maintaining positional discipline while also supporting attacks. Anderson's energy levels and tactical awareness suggest he could excel in this demanding role, providing the dynamism that United's midfield has occasionally lacked this season. The strategic midfield overhaul. Taken together, the interest in both Garner and Anderson signals Manchester United's recognition that their midfield requires reinforcement. Rather than pursuing a single marquee signing, the club appears to be considering multiple options across different price points and profiles. This diversified approach suggests a more mature recruitment strategy, one that balances immediate needs with financial sustainability. The focus on midfield also aligns with Amorim's tactical priorities. Control of the center of the pitch determines success in the system, and without midfielders who can dominate possession, win duels, and dictate tempo, the entire tactical structure becomes vulnerable. By targeting players like Anderson and Garner, United are addressing the engine room that powers everything else on the pitch. January transfer window dynamics. The January transfer window presents unique challenges and opportunities. Clubs are generally reluctant to sell key players mid-season, particularly when they have their own objectives to pursue. Newcastle, for instance, will be wary of strengthening a direct rival for European places. This reality means that Manchester United may need to pay premium prices or offer creative deal structures to secure their targets. The reported interest in Garner as a potential cut-price alternative to Anderson suggests that United are thinking strategically about different scenarios. If Newcastle proves unwilling to negotiate on Anderson, having Garner as a backup option prevents a club from entering the second half of the season without any midfield reinforcement. This kind of contingency planning has often been absent from United's transfer dealings in recent years, so its presence now is encouraging. Newcastle versus Manchester United. Tonight's crucial encounter. The £10 million man's potential return. As Manchester United prepare to face Newcastle United tonight, speculation swirls around the potential return of a player purchased for £10 million. While the specific player remains a subject of debate, the narrative highlights the ongoing squad management decisions that Amorim faces with every team selection. Whether this refers to a previously injured player returning to fitness or someone who's been out of favor regaining their place, the storyline underscores the depth considerations that become crucial during a congested fixture schedule. Squad rotation during the winter period is essential for maintaining performance levels across multiple competitions. The decision to include or exclude any player tonight will be scrutinized not just for its immediate tactical implications, but for what it signals about that player's future role in Amorim's plans. A return to the starting 11 can rebuild confidence and momentum, while continued absence can fuel transfer speculation, predicted team selection, and tactical setup. Analyzing Newcastle United's predicted lineup offers insights into the challenge Manchester United will face. Newcastle, under their manager's guidance, have developed into one of the Premier League's most organized and physically imposing teams. Their ability to press aggressively, defend resolutely, and transition quickly into attack makes them dangerous opponents for any team, particularly one that is still adapting to a new tactical system. Manchester United's team selection will need to balance attacking ambition with defensive solidity. St. James Park is a notoriously difficult venue for visiting teams, with the atmosphere generated by Newcastle's passionate supporters providing a genuine home advantage. Amorim will need his players to show composure, mental strength, and tactical discipline to navigate this challenging environment successfully. The midfield battle will be particularly crucial. If Elliot Anderson features for Newcastle, Manchester United will see firsthand the qualities they reportedly admire in the player. This adds another layer of intrigue to the encounter. United's midfielders will need to match Newcastle's intensity, while also providing the technical quality to unlock a well-organized defense. The stakes for both clubs. Tonight's match carries significant implications for both clubs' seasonal objectives. For Manchester United, dropping points would damage their pursuit of Champions League qualification and increase pressure on Amorim during his critical early months in charge. For Newcastle, victory would strengthen their own European ambitions and provide a psychological boost after recent results. The match also represents an opportunity for Manchester United to demonstrate progress under their new manager. While results remain the ultimate measure, performances against top-half teams offer evidence of whether Amorim's tactical ideas are taking root. A convincing display, regardless of the result, would suggest that the transition period is progressing positively. Key individual battles. Beyond team tactics, tonight's match will feature several compelling individual duels. Newcastle's defensive organization will test Manchester United's attacking players, requiring creativity, movement, and clinical finishing to break down. Conversely, United's defense will need to contain Newcastle's attacking threats, which can exploit space behind high defensive lines with pace and precision. The midfield zone, as always, will be where the match is won or lost. Whichever team can establish dominance in central areas will dictate tempo, control possession, and create the platform for attacking opportunities. For Manchester United, this represents both a challenge and an opportunity to showcase the midfield qualities they've been working to develop under Amorim's guidance.
Conclusion. A defining period for Manchester United. As we synthesize these interconnected storylines, a clear picture emerges of Manchester United at a crossroads. Ruben Amorim's faith in young talents like Kobbie Mainoo demonstrates a commitment to building for the future while simultaneously demanding results in the present. The surprise recall of Toby Collier and the pursuit of midfield reinforcements through James Garner and Elliot Anderson illustrate a club actively trying to address its weaknesses rather than passively accepting them. Tonight's encounter with Newcastle United represents more than just 3 points in the league table. It is an examination of Manchester United's progress under their new manager, a test of their mental resilience during a demanding period, and an opportunity to build momentum heading into the crucial months ahead. The decisions Amorim makes regarding team selection, tactical setup, and in-game adjustments will all be scrutinized as indicators of his suitability for one of football's most demanding jobs. The broader narrative encompasses questions that go beyond any single match or transfer window. Can Manchester United successfully integrate youth development with the immediate demands for success? Will their transfer strategy finally achieve the consistency and coherence that has eluded the club in recent years? Can Ruben Amorim implement his tactical philosophy quickly enough to secure Champions League qualification while also laying foundations for long-term success? These questions won't be answered tonight, nor will they be resolved during the January transfer window. Instead, They represent ongoing processes that will define Manchester United's trajectory over the coming months and years. What we can observe now is a club that appears to be thinking more strategically about squad construction, that is willing to back young talents while also pursuing experienced reinforcements, and that has appointed a manager with clear tactical ideas and the conviction to implement them. For Manchester United supporters, this period demands patience alongside expectation. The club's illustrious history creates pressure that few institutions can match, but sustainable success requires time to build. Amorim's declarations about ManUtd, the strategic thinking behind transfer targets, and the approach to tonight's crucial fixture all suggest a club trying to balance immediate needs with longer-term vision. As the final whistle approaches on tonight's match, and as the January transfer window progresses toward its conclusion, Manchester United's journey continues. The Theatre of Dreams remains a stage where ambitions are pursued, where young talent emerge, and where every decision carries weight. Whether these current storylines will be remembered as the foundation of future success or as missed opportunities in a turbulent period remains to be seen. What is certain is that Manchester United, as always, will continue to captivate, frustrate, and inspire in equal measure as they pursue the excellence that their history demands and their supporters expect.